Hey, if you've been struggling for distance, I want you to watch all the way through to the end, because if you follow everything that I'm going to be promoting in this video, I strongly believe you're going to pick up 30 to 50 yards off the tee. So the other day I was working with a 61-year-old businessman who keeps himself in pretty good shape. Sound familiar so far? But while he was practicing before the lesson started, his longest drive on the launch monitor was only 185 yards. Now, we worked for several hours over 2 days, and before you watch any further, I want you to pause the video, go down in the comments right now and take a guess at what his longest drive was. All right, welcome back. So exactly what was this guy doing that made him hit the ball so short off the tee? Well, unfortunately, the answer is everything. Now, the first thing I noticed right away, which showed up in the video quite clearly, is that his club face was super open throughout the swing. It looked something like this. So I knew very first thing that I should take a look at his grip, especially if it was overly weak and maybe even in the palm. And sure enough, he had a grip that looked something like this and this. And of course, just a normal swing with a very weak grip will cause the club face to track open all the way through, all the way into impact as well. So if you are looking for more distance, start there in the grip. Make sure that your left hand is turned over far enough to where you can see the logo of the glove from your left hand, and that your thumb is at least at 1 o'clock on the grip. Now, this was a really good first step, but unfortunately for him, his club head speed was so low at 75 miles an hour max that even though he was swinging with a very open club face and very, very outside to in path, he wasn't hitting the ball hard enough to make it slice a whole lot. So he didn't really think that a slice was his issue, because he could only slice it just to reach the right rough. But of course, if you are slicing this much, in this case the face was open about 4 or 5 degrees, and he was swinging about 9 degrees on average outside in. This is a gigantic differential between face and path, and this is not scalable. So if you're out there and you're just saying, well, I only faded a little bit, but I'm struggling for distance, you got to keep in mind that swing is not going to scale to the distance that you're seeking, because as you hit it harder with that same differential between open face to path, you're going to start slicing it more and more, and you're just going to defeat the purpose of hitting it farther anyway. Now, from the POV angle, let's take a look at what his grip looked like. So a little bit more into the palm with the thumb at 12 o'clock, and you see when I lift up, his rest of his hand was very weak underneath it, exposing this very large gap here. So if we move the thumb to 1 o'clock and bring the rest of the hand into the thumb, you can see how you'd have a 1 o'clock thumb, be able to read the logo of the glove, and I have tightened up that big gap into a very tight crease. So as mentioned, he was swinging the driver about 9 degrees outside in. Now, what does 9 degrees mean? 9 degrees, I like to say, 1 to 4 degrees would be just a mild error. Somebody could play on tour with a swing that was 1 to 4 degrees inside out or outside to in. Then there's 5 to 8, and that's kind of medium level where you're starting to get into some trouble. So 9 degrees is starting to be pretty severe, especially when you combine it with an open face. Anybody with power is going to hit a banana into the next fairway really, really sharply. So now that we've got his club face more square throughout the swing, we started moving his path and getting him used to swinging more from the inside to out. I wanted to promote a little bit of extra. So again, we have our noodle on a stick. If you get to practice in the grass, or you just have grass in the backyard, you can just stick that point of the stick right into the grass itself. And I just had him practice making some easy first practice swings and then some ball swings, just staying under the noodle. And that started promoting him. It was a little shaky at first, but after 10-15 minutes, he started to hit little draw shots. And he said, Wow, I have never made the ball hook like that with my driver in my whole life. Now what was really cool is one of those drives rolled out to 187 yards, which was his longest of the day, but he did it with just a little bit under 71 miles per hour club speed. So more distance for less effort and less power. And it went straight, so now we have a scalable model. So now with those first two steps, we raised his level of distance efficiency to nearly 100%, meaning he was hitting these drives about as far as they could go given that club head speed. Now there were certainly a couple of obvious things he was doing that kept him from getting higher club head speed no matter how much effort he tried to put into his drives. Number one, he had the pulling action of the left arm. We've talked about this in past videos. He was pulling the handle through this way, like he was trying to hit the handle towards the ball this way. And of course, that's going to lead you into this move here, or a chicken wing move, and that really drops your club head speed because it doesn't allow this end of the stick to slow down. If you can get this end of the stick to suddenly slow down, the head will accelerate and fly right by it. It's like a counter move or a whipping action. If you were to whip a towel, you'd see your hand would actually retreat this way in a very supple manner. So we had to get him releasing the club head better without pulling on the handle. Now, of course, you know my favorite release drill. This is the wrap around the pole drill, what I consider to be the #1 golf drill in the world for getting club head speed, getting distance, and getting the face to square up. We have it all here. If you were to try to pull, if he tried to pull, he would bang his elbow against the pole like this. So you can no longer try to advance this end of the stick, but instead you have to try to force this end of the stick out and around, while this end of the stick actually suddenly has to decelerate or come to a sudden stop. Like this, it's just a simple pole wrapping exercise. Gonna go from 90 degrees, so feel free to practice more wrist cock to give you more potential. Wrap it around and get a lot of wrist cock on this side of the pole too. Maximize out your wrist range of motion, because most short hitters out there are not using their wrists enough. So here we go. Wrap the pole and hold. Left arm straight, right arm straight and over the top. The handle has to suddenly stop so that you don't break your elbow on the pole. Give that a try every day if you're a short hitter or a slicer, and you're going to get tremendous results. Now, the last topic we talked about, I noticed right away, but I wanted to save it for last until we could get hitting with more efficiency first, because I knew if we didn't get that ball going straight or down the fairway consistently, the swing was not going to scale to higher speeds. Why bother hitting it farther and farther and farther if you're simply going to slice it or hook it further into the trees? So if you look at his first swing that I showed earlier, we'll play it again on the screen, and then we're going to show one of the swings he was making during this exercise when we were doing some practice swings to practice lengthening out the backswing and the follow through. He had both short range of motion going back. He was only taking the club back to about here, and he was only taking the club through to about here. And so he's missing about, almost 90 degrees on either side of the body. That's another full half circle that the club can move in order to attain a higher club head speed. So one of my favorite drills for that, and you can see how successful he was lengthening out his swing. Once you put all this stuff together, man, his swings were looking super powerful. Like the image you see that I've paused on the screen, look how powerful. That's a 61-year-old guy. How long do you suppose that guy hits it? 110-degree shoulder turn, beautiful wind up, nice wide arc. Well, I like to use this orange whip, and you can pick one of these up on my website. I've left a link in the description down below. This is a great product for lengthening out your swing. You don't have to swing hard, but what I like to do is I do a drill where I call it see it and see it. I like to swing far enough back to where I can see that orange ball out of my left eye right here, and then swing it all the way through until I can see that orange ball out of my right eye. And this is going to ensure that you have maximum range of motion. Swinging longer doesn't have that much to do with flexibility, as it turns out. It has to do with what you're used to. So if you've been swinging short, and sure, you can get a little tighter as we get older, and you can fight that. You should fight that. But when you hit ball after ball after ball for months and years with a short swing, it becomes what you're accustomed to. Just like swinging outside in or gripping it poorly or anything else that you're used to doing, we want to practice even with a little bit of extra embellishment. So I'm going to try to take this past parallel and then wrap it all the way around and see it out of my right eye again. So it's see it and see it, see it and see it. And I'm just trying to memorize what that feels like. You don't necessarily have to hit perfect drives using this technique right off the bat. Just like any other change you might make, you might spray a bunch of balls first. That's why you take this to the driving range first. Practice swinging longer at home many times. Don't have to be hard, it can be slow at first. Then you'd start to add speed. Then you take it to the range and you start to add some golf balls to it without any expectation that you're going to hit the ball flush or control it at first. And sure enough, as soon as we lengthened out the backswing and lengthened out his follow through, his speed started to jump. He kept practicing and making that swoosh sound, wrapping the pole off of a long backswing, swoosh, from snapping the club head around the imaginary pole, and his speed started to climb. First, 78, 79, and then he hit 80. Then he hit 82, then he hit 83, then he hit 84 miles per hour. So we picked up, over 2 days, we picked up 9 miles per hour, and we picked up, a good 20 yards of distance efficiency. And so by the end of our second day, he had hit a whole bunch of drives over 220, with the longest drive being about 227 yards at 84 miles per hour. So in just a short amount of time, this 61-year-old businessman, who's just a 16 index, went from about 185 best drive to 227, a gain of over 40 yards, which is gonna stick. In fact, when he gets home and keeps practicing all these methods, I wouldn't doubt if he hits 250 in another month. Now, all that extra distance is really gonna help him drop his index down. He's already a decent chipper and putter, but it's very hard to shoot a good score when you have to hit a 3-wood from the fairway every time and not be able to reach the hole in regulation. Now at home, I want you to take yourself through those 4 steps. If you're already good at one of them, then by all means skip it, but follow those 4 steps. Check your grip, make sure it's strong enough so you can square the club face up more easily. Then make sure your path is running from the inside. Next, make sure as you swing from the inside, you are releasing that club freely, not trying to pull, but instead throwing from the top like this. And then also make sure that you're swinging big enough to create an opportunity to accelerate the club to a higher club head speed coming through. Now, once you try these techniques, one or more, you don't have to do them all at once, but I want you to come back to the video and I want you to leave a comment for me and tell me how many yards you picked up. All right, hey, as usual, thanks again for watching. Watching the video all the way through is one of the best things that you can do to help support my channel as YouTube senses that signal and starts to push this video out to more and more people. So kudos to you. Check out my website, hititlonger.com, for lots more great videos and awesome endorsed products. I'm Steve, and if I don't see you in the next video, I hope I see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.